now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Rev Nathaniel W Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, never good night, and never goodbye. We are happy to join with you, my brothers and my sisters, from wherever you may have opportunity to see this video. The title of this broadcast, this video, is It's Time. I'm Rev Nathaniel W Martin, pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church right here in Los Angeles. However, I hail from Houston, Texas. That's where I was born. That's where I was reared. And I came out here in 1966 and been here ever since. Thank God for you joining with me. And we want to get right into our discussion about It's Time. And our purpose is to talk about it's time for you to get paid. And I'm not talking no get rich quick schemes. I'm talking about reparations for being defrauded out of houses and out of land and out of opportunity by the de jure United States government laws, rules, regulations, and legislation that were pushed against our people. Now, let us look at the Word of God in Deuteronomy chapter 24, what it says and how it has a bearing on our entire discussion, shall we? It says, "Thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates." Now that's pretty plain. It says, "You shall not oppress." To oppress means to hold down, and surely we can testify that in America, we as a people have been held down. But it's not just black people that have been held down, but we find out that poor people, whether you are black or white or whatever classification you may put yourself under, have likewise been oppressed, held down, restrained, restricted, prohibited from the full exercise of your citizenship rights. But before I get too far, let me finish reading within our gates, verse number 15. At his day, that means if you hire a person to work for you, male or female, and they have finished their work for that day, at their day, thou shalt pay them their money. Whatever you promised to pay, whatever you agreed to, you're supposed to come on up with it right then. Not supposed to be no coming back with my hat in my hand, asking you to please, ma'am, pay me my money. Neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he or she is poor, and setteth their hearts upon it, lest they cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. It is a sin to owe people money and don't pay. It is a sin to defraud people from what you owe them. It is a sin to have people's money in your pocket and won't give it to them. You hear me? And that goes, and how many times does that happen on a job situation or a contracting situation? I don't care if no more you ask me to cut your front yard. When I get through cutting, lay it on me, put the scratch in my hand so I can go take care of my family. My babies need milk too. Somebody say amen. And even worse, dilemmas and emergencies and exigencies have beset the poor working people of America. All because that the people who have the power, who have the scratch, who have the money, don't want to pay the money that they lawfully and justly should. And it is criminal. Now let's go look in the book of James, chapter 5, and we want to go to verse number 4. As you can see, I got my little iPhone here. Everything's supposed to go quicker with the iPhone, but I don't think so. All right. James chapter 5, verse 4, it says, "Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your field." That means you had a field and you had some work to be done, and you went and brought some people in, got some folk to come. So look, y'all come over here How much for you work for me for the day? Get these wheat harvested. And you agreed. But notice what James says. Gentle James in the New Testament. We start over. Behold the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you, kept back by fraud. In other words, you had the money, but you wouldn't pay the money. Crying. Who's crying? The people who worked and you didn't pay them. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Now, you know, when you don't pay somebody their money, you put them in a great sense of anxiety. And anything is subject to happen to you because their minds run from one extreme to the other because they have logically, they have legally worked for you and they have honestly labored. And here is the time appointed, the work is done, the field is harvested, the concrete is poured, the grass is cut, you know, the food is cooked. The party have been served, the banquet is finished, and it's time for the people who did the hiring to do the paying. You understand. And in how many various instances have people defrauded the hard-working people of America out of their just due? And I cannot dismiss 250 years of unrequited toil in slavery. But if you start just from 1877 or go from 1900 down through 1968, and some say even on up to the present moment, and you just begin to chronicle and to identify and detail the various frauds that have been perpetrated against the people of America in the name of this or that religion or that God, or this or that rule, that is a very long list. And believe me, sooner or later, America was going to have to pay. And the best way is to pay voluntarily and willingly begin to make up that deficit, because that wealth gap that they talk about is real. That wealth gap is real, and it is creating hurt feelings and harsh feelings and suspicion on both sides. And people are beginning to see that they have been cheated out of the American dream, that they have been denied access to the venues that would have allowed them to live a decent life. You know, I don't want to live like Donald Trump. I don't want to live like the Kardashians. Nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have it. But I don't have to have it. I just have to have what? What you owe me. And if you would take care of your obligation, then all would be well. But if you're going to keep your money and my money too, help me somebody, that is where the problems are going to arise. And really, the conditions in our nation and in our world, especially in America, stem systemically from the greed that has been so much a part of the body politic, especially of those that are in power. I was talking to Mr. Blackwell and Mr. Morris just before we began this commentary. We were talking about the great robber barons of the world, that in the Gilded Age, how they were manipulating and robbing the people, whether they were J.P. Morgan, John D. Rockefeller, or Andrew Carnegie, or any of the other, the Rothschilds, and they prosper. They prosper. And you're not against they prospering, but don't defraud the little person. Don't step on the little guy. And look at what's happening. We're celebrating the 50th year of the assassination of the greatest prophet for peace this country has ever produced. Probably the greatest prophet since Jesus the Christ. Talking about the late Dr. Martin Luther King. He said one time about racism that the immorality of segregation or racism is that it selfishly cuts off our capacity to decide or to deliberate for ourselves. You see, that's what segregation does. That's what discrimination does. It takes the right or the opportunity for the person to make a decision away from them, or you make that decision for them. King went on to say it cuts off our capacity to deliberate, decide, or to respond. You understand? A person is robbed of basic humanity. Yeah, when you don't let people have a say in how they shall be governed, or in the laws that affect them, or in the police policies and tactics that affect them, suddenly you have taken away their right to make a decision. Is that right? And unable to play a part in basic humanity. Remember, we're human beings. You are made a victim in a decision in which you played no part. A lot of those shooting policies that are coming out of the police or law enforcement agencies across this nation, we played no part in the development of those policies. Let me say it again. The shooting policies that are coming out of the police and the law enforcement agencies and the paramilitary type organizations around this nation that affect us, we had no part in making those policies. It was wrong for the police to open fire on Stephon Clark in the backyard of his grandmother's house. Didn't that give him a chance to put the gun down if he had a gun? And come to find out he had no gun. He only had a cell phone in his hand. But it's too late now to say, oh, because the young man is dead. He's been killed. And the police hide behind the policeman's Bill of Rights, and they hide behind this bromide about the officer's state of mind. Well, what was his state of mind when he applied for that job? What was his state of mind when he said that he would faithfully uphold the laws and execute the laws to the best of his ability? What was his state of mind then? How is it that his state of mind deteriorates so rapidly when he has to come and arrest a black person, but it expands when he goes to arrest a white person? Why are the videos and the camera optics of that fellow up there in Colorado or Utah with all of those weapons, Mr. Bundy, standing pointing those weapons at federal authorities, but none of those people were shot and killed? Mr. Bundy was not shot and killed that day because of pointing those weapons at the federal authorities, and they had the right. They had the helicopters, they had all those automatic weapons, and they had the law on their side, but they did not open fire. How is it there is such a reticence and such a rethinking and such thought goes into the arrest of a white person, but that same reticence and thought does not go into the arrest or even the detaining for questioning of a black person? That is what grinds my gears, my brothers and my sisters. And I think it ought to grind your gears as well. Let me follow on through with Dr. King's statement. He says, nothing can be more diabolical than a deliberate attempt to destroy in any human, in any person, their will to be human. You see, when we see our people shot down like that, they're taking away our ability to be human, because you're canceling out life. We have a constitution. We have a Declaration of Independence. We fought a civil war based upon the fact of the principle that all men are guaranteed certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Where's the life of Stephon Clark? Where's the pursuit of happiness for the young man that was killed up there in Barstow just this week? Where is their pursuit of happiness? Where is their life? Where is their liberty? Their liberty and their life and their pursuit of happiness have been snuffed out by people who had authority, but who lacked the ability to carry out a decent arrest in a manner without bloodshed. There is something very, very wrong with this ongoing picture, my brothers and my sisters. And we need to address these fears and the prejudices and the irrationality that is a part of the human spirit. Fear, prejudice, irrationality has been codified in and institutionalized in these laws which we are subjected to here in America. And now people are being savage like they did the buffalo. They're being exterminated like they talk about some of the wild animals that are becoming extinct. Why, you putting the black man and the black woman and the black boy and the black girl in danger of extinction with these so-called shoot-to-kill policies. No policy that says that we don't have to shoot to kill all the time, in every condition, every circumstance. And is it true that the police and the law enforcement agencies are being taught to shoot for the body mass, the largest body mass of the body, because of the fact that if you kill a person, you only have to pay one set fee to that person's family. Whereas if that person is only wounded or injured, then that bill may continue to grow. That is putting profit over people. That's putting money ahead of human life. And that is barbaric. And those are the type of things that should make all of us upset. And those same rationalities, we see them working out in Starbucks, in Walmart, in all of these places of business where the public is invited in. But if you're black, you get watched. Or you have a different set of conditions under which you are allowed to shop. You go into a Korean supermarket, you see a Korean peeking all around the corner while you trying to shop down the aisle. Walking up behind you, ask you what you want. Why are you in here? I'm in here for business. I'm in here to supply what I need, and you have a place of business close to home, and I felt the need or at least the willingness to come in and patronize your business. Why are you following me? Is the question. Why is it that the black person is always suspected of stealing when the white man been stealing ever since he come off that ship? Ever since he come off that boat, he come out the Mayflower stealing. Help me, somebody. Stole the land from the Indians. Stole freedom from the African. Is that right? Stole all of the deeds to all of the mines of all of the wealth of the world. A lot of it, the bulk of it is stolen. Stolen. And yet you look upon black people and call us thieves. Let me move on. But thank God for Mr. Kevin Johnson, who was the CEO down there in Philadelphia. When Mr. Robinson and Mr. Johnson, Rashawn Johnson, were arrested because the manager said that they weren't buying anything and they had asked to use the restroom. And I understand that in most places of business, they got a sign up saying restroom are for customers only. But we also know that those rules are expanded and stretched as the condition or the circumstances may warrant. Now, just so happened that both of those young men were entrepreneurs, and they were waiting for another person to join them, and they were going to hold that little meeting right there in Starbucks. Just so happened that the person that they were meeting or waiting for was a white person. And but that's neither here nor there. The point is that they were well-to-do, upstanding citizens. They had no criminal record. They hadn't stolen out of that Starbucks. They had not misbehaved themselves in that Starbucks. They had not created a scene in that Starbucks. They were simply waiting there for their party to come, much like any other person. But they were treated differently by the management and by the staff. They were asked to leave. It kind of reminds me of that incident in Macy's where a young black man went in there, a businessman, with money, spending money, and because the manager of the store felt that he must have stole his money, the young man was arrested. What up with that? And that same type of mentality we see being exercised in Starbucks. That, what Dr. King called it, fear, prejudice, and irrationality. And we must ask the question that Dr. King asked in his book. Are we moving from chaos to community? Where do we go from here? This way of mistreating God's children in the exercise of their citizenship rights, and people who come into the places of business and have a legitimate right to be there because you go into a place of business to conduct business. Is that right? And we used to say a long time ago, I didn't come in here begging, I came in here buying. So why is it that our treatment is different? Why is it that when a black person goes into the store to spend money, that they are not treated as other people? I hate to keep saying white, but that's where it is. And so these thoughts claim our attention on this February 20th, 2018. Let us not forget that this is the anniversary of that other terrible killing up at Columbine, up there in Colorado, peaceful town, peaceful place, with two troubled young boys, young men, young boys. They weren't grown. Had hatched a plot to kill a bunch of their own fellow students, their own fellow classmates. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebo. Both of them came from two-parent families. Both of them were not living in poverty. They were coming from upper middle-class background, which shatters that so-called stereotype and profile. But yet they committed an atrocity, whereas we have it constantly beating our heads that because you don't come from a two-parent family, you're more likely to commit a crime. Well, what with these boys, they had their mama and their daddy both at home, and they still committed a crime. Help me, somebody. So we got to stop being irrational, as Dr. King said. Stop giving in to fears and prejudices in our interactions with one another. Let us move from chaos to community. And what does that have to do with getting paid? It has everything to do with getting paid. Because if you don't think my life is worth anything, then you're not going to pay me what I'm worth. You don't hear me. I heard this actress Viola Davis lamenting the very same fact that she has equal credit as far as awards and as far as appearing in movies and various things with, at the time, the person she referenced, of course, was Meryl Streep. But she said she has to fight a harder fight to get an acting part that is not demeaning and that will actually pay her some money and pay her what she's worth, as opposed to Meryl Streep. Why does that happen? It's because of fears, prejudice, and irrationality. Dr. King's question must be asked, where do we go from here? Are we going from chaos to community, or shall we stay in chaos? I trust, my brothers and sisters, that we are moving to community. Hey, I'm your brother, you are my brother, you are my sister, and we all live on the same planet. God gave the world to those that are here. Out of one blood, God created all people for to dwell upon all the face of the earth. We have debunked Darwinism. We know that there is no race gene. There is no white gene. There is no black gene. So the things that we are battling now are in the realm of ideas. We're battling myths. We're battling legend. We're battling lies. We're battling delusion and illusion. And we must win this battle. We must not only know the truth, but we must teach and tell and live the truth. I'm teaching myself to stop using the word race. Talk about racism. But there is no need any further to further propagate the lie of race. There is no race. There's only the human race. That much we understood from former President Barack Obama. We are not a bunch of nations. We are the United States of America. We are one nation. Remember when Jefferson Davis and his ilk tried to break up the nation, that Abraham Lincoln said, we have one common country. And they fought that Civil War, and they fought it to a standstill until the Southerners come back to the table. See, we are no more trying to break away from the United States of America. We recognize that we got to give up slavery, and we got to become a part of the Union. And as Abraham Lincoln said, the whole purpose of everything is to form a more perfect union. And that is what we must be doing, and that is what we must be about here in the 21st century of the United States. The United States is still battling the question of the color line. Well, good news for you. There is no color line. And all of the justification for fraud and for withholding pay and worth based upon racism must now be eliminated, must now be recognized that it doesn't really exist. And so if we are going to live in community, we must treat each other with community. And saying to our white brothers and sisters that write the laws in our capitals, federal and state and local, that you have to start treating God's people equitably. And that means that going all the way back from 1900, coming on up to now, you need to pay the black man what you owe because we've been defrauded. The wealth gap says we've been defrauded. The pay stub says we've been defrauded. The Social Security says we've been defrauded. Our brothers and our sisters are crying out, the ones that are living on the bridges and living on the streets and on the sidewalk. There's been a huge theft, and it is time that the people of God rose up as never before and demanded from their government all the way down that they rectify and give recompense. And it's time for God's people to get paid. God bless you. May God keep you is our prayer. Keep fighting. Don't give up. Stay in the race. Keep going because you've got to get paid.